Okay. Okay, let's go to create a new project, I believe. Okay, let's create a new project. New Java projects. Let's make it week 9. Okay. CSE114 Spring 17 week 09 and then lab 1. Okay. That'll be the only lab for this week. Okay, so now if you see the instructions there, so we're going to create several classes. Let's first create a student record class. We're trying to manage student records. Okay, let's create a new class over here. So new, and then class, student record. Okay, student record. And then we also get another class called course. Let's start with these two first, and then we'll get to the management system in a moment. New, and then class, and call that course. So these are the two classes we have, right? Okay, good. Let's go to course first, okay? If you read the instructions there, it says that each course has a name, the number of credits, if it is mandatory or elective, and also the final letter grade. Okay, so these are the information, okay? First of all, we have a name of the course, string, name of the course, CSE114, CSE214, etc. And then also it has the number of credits. You don't really have 3.5 credits, do you? Right? So that should be integer. So we say integer, you can say the number of credits. Okay. And we also get whether it's mandatory or not. So now you got choices. Okay. You can say string mandatory or elective. Over here, you can assign to this attribute to be mandatory, or you can assign this attribute to be elective. That's one choice. But since we only got two possibilities here, either it's mandatory or it's optional. So why don't we just make it a Boolean over here? Okay, so now we can have Boolean over here. So that's a better choice. You can say is mandatory. So in this case, if it is true, that means the course is required. If it is false, that means the course is elective. Okay, true or false. Okay. So whenever you got the binary choices between things, so you can make it a Boolean. That's usually the case. Okay. Okay, so we also get the final letter grade. Okay. So now for letter grade, so now here comes the issue. Should it be a character or should it be a string? If you only get A, B, C, D, E, F, that can be a character. But since you might get A+, you might get B-, which would be more than one character, in which case a single character wouldn't do, right? So let's make it a string. Okay. So string letter grade. And eventually we want to convert the letter grade into a GPA. So that's the main method I want to achieve today. Okay. Okay, so that's about the course. Okay, that's about the course. That's about it. So now I want to show you something really cool in Eclipse. Remember, we have to define things like a set, the setter method, for example, set the name, and set the first name, set the last name, and set the number of credits, or set the mandatory, etc. This can be generated automatically by Eclipse. You don't need to do anything. Now I'm going to show you. Okay. So now I want you to select all the attributes we have defined so far. Select all of them and right-click. If you right-click, you will see one of the options is source. Under the source, there's something called, source generates getters and setters. Do you see that? So select the block of attributes, right-click, and then go to source, and then go to generates getters and setters. Okay? If you get it, go there. So now you want to choose, let's say we want to do for all the attributes. 1, 2, 3, 4. All the attributes, select all of them. You can choose where to put them. Let's say you can see insertion point, right? Let's choose that after letter grade, because letter grade was the last attribute. We want all these methods to go after that letter grade attributes. And then let's say OK. You will see that method has been generated for you by Eclipse. For the accessor method here, it's actually quite obvious. If I want to get a name of a course, it will just return the name of the course, right? But now, the mutator is more interesting. For example, you can see that over here. Set mandatory. And then we have a Boolean parameter called isMandatory. You can see isMandatory as a parameter name is already defined as an attribute name over here. But how do we resolve the clash? As we learned this morning, we can use this to disambiguate. So that's why Java does this for you. It says that if you have isMandatory over here as a parameter, you will do this dot isMandatory is assigned to isMandatory. So now the this keyword has been applied everywhere. Okay, follow so far? Okay, just show you that sometimes you don't really have to define all the setters and getters yourself. It can be generated. You can save quite a bit of typing. Okay. Now let's try to do some tests, shall we? Okay. Let's now go to create a new class, new, and then class. Okay, we have, let's say, students. Let's say registration system tester. Registration system tester. Okay, and then we have a main method here. Okay, let's try to test the course before we go to the students. So let's try to do, for example, course CSE114 is assigned to. Oh, let's define the constructor. I forgot. Just go back to course over here. Let's now say this is what we want to do. Let's say we have only one single constructor for the course class. We only initialize the name of the course. Let's say course. You can say string name. So now I don't have to worry about having a different name as the attributes. I can simply say this.name is assigned to name. That's all I got to do. However, if you say something like this, that's wrong. Eclipse even gives you a warning to say, well, you're trying to assign the parameter to itself, which is a mistake. Right? So you really got to say this.name. Okay, is assigned to name. Let's go back to tester. So now let's say CSE114 is equal to new course, a name, CSE114, like that. Or I can make it even fancier if you like. Computer science 1. Okay, let's just do another one over here. CSE214. And that will be computer science 2, and then 214. So now let's try to set something over here. Okay. So now let's try to do this. We can do, let's say CSE114.set. So there are many things we can set. Let's say we don't set a letter grade just yet because students need to take it before we can set a letter grade. What about set mandatory? Let's say 114 is mandatory, so we say true over here. It is mandatory. And we can do the same. Let's say for some reason 214 is not necessary. Maybe for other majors, TSM major, you don't really have to take 214. You can say that's false. Okay? That's how you use this attribute here, true or false. Okay? You can also CSE114.set. Let's say the number of credits. I believe it's 4 for CSE114. You also got a lab, right? And you can also set CSE, beg your pardon, that should be 214. Okay. 214.set the number of credits, let's say it's 3. Okay, so far so good? Very good. So now let's do something useful here. Let's say we want to return some string value for the course. How do we do that? String, let's say get string value, and you might find this useful for your assignments, right? So let's see how we can do that. Some string value s, initially empty string. Eventually, I'm going to return s, right? So now we want to think about how we can accumulate this string so that we can return it, and then we can print it out. The important thing to realize is when you have accessor method here, it is going to return a string. you should not print any string to the console as I said in the instruction. If we find out there's any print statement in your methods, no. Okay, please make sure you follow that. Okay, so now we can simply say something simple here. We can say the name of the course S plus equal, right? We can say we can try to accumulate a string. S plus equal the name of the course plus takes, I'll just make it simple here, takes the number of credits plus, okay, for other attributes you can just make it later. Okay, you can expand it as you wish to include other attribute values in the printout. That's it for now. Okay, let's try that. If you go back to the assistant tester over here, so now let's say this. Let's say after this we can say system.out.println CSE114. If I simply say this, is it going to print out the string value for me? No. What would it print out? Good. Very good. I'm happy. Good. Let's verify that. Okay, address. Okay, no surprise. Very good. Okay, I'll comment that out for you. So this will print out the address. Instead, we should say system.out.println CSE114.get string value. Okay, like that. And we do something similar for 214 as well. Okay, so now let's try that. CSE114 Computer Science 1 takes 4 credits, and CSE214 takes 3 credits. Okay, so far so good, easy. Okay. Now let's get a little bit more complicated. Let's go to the student class, and let's see what happens. Okay. So if you go to the student record class, according to the instructions here, let's see what we have. They have student ID. So string, I'll say ID. Let's say the ID itself is not just numbers. They might have some characters there. Student ID. And also you got the first name, last name. String, I'll say FN. String, last name. Let's be a little bit, usually for attribute you want to have better name. First name, last name. And also the program of study, string, the program of study. We can just say program, doesn't matter. Also the year of entrance, integer, year of entrance, integer, year of graduation. Okay. And then also a list of registered courses. Now in this case, whenever you see a list, a collection or multiple things that give you hints, you should use array. Okay? So now we should have a list of courses. So now I know maybe one of you, when you do assignment 5, you might try something like this. If I say string and then courses. So what does this mean? You might think, well, I'm just going to store the names of the course rather than objects of the course. So if you simply write line number 9, it's not right. Because somehow you want to refer to the course that the student is taking. And the course itself will have many other information you can refer to, like how many credits you have, and also if that's mandatory or not, or the letter grade. Okay, so now, that's why you need a course type over here. Okay. So now let's make some comments here. Each element in this array, okay, I'll put it in a separate line. Each element in this array stores the address of some course objects. You can use the dot notation to access attributes of the course class. I'll demonstrate it to you in just a moment. But you can type it down first. Okay, so these are the attributes we want for the student record. Okay. You can generate the setters and getters like how I showed you before. You can do that. Okay, I'm just not going to do it here. So now, let's see how we can do some interesting method here. Let's say we want the student to register for a course, which means they can add. Let's not worry about deletion for now. Deletion will be for your next assignment. Okay, let's not worry about deletion. Let's say we can add courses only. Okay, so now let's say, so this is a method, add a course for students. Okay, how you do that? Let me show you two versions of adding a course. There are two versions. Okay, let's do version number 1, which is easier. When I say void, I'll say register rather than add a course. Doesn't really matter. Okay, let's just register given a course C. How do I register this particular course for this student record? How do I do that, right? So in this case, I need a separate counter. You know, it's a very, you should be very familiar with this pattern up to now, right? So now we can say integer number of courses over here, right? So now you can say that the courses at position NOC is assigned to C, and then NOC plus plus. Okay. You can feel free to put this pattern in your cheat sheet for Thursday. Feel free to do that. Okay, after this, I want to show you another version. Okay, you can see that to create a course objects, what do we need? We only need the name of the course. Everything else can be set using the setters, right? So now, what we can do is this. Add a course denoted by its name for students. So this one, the signature is going to be a little bit different. Okay, so you can say void also register the same name. That's okay, as long as the parameter do not cause any confusion. And then I can say string name of the course. So now I will do something very similar to what I did for the previous version. But now, let's say if I try this. Okay, if I simply try this, I simply say name. That wouldn't work, would it? Because you can see that if you move your mouse over in Eclipse, it says that type mismatch. You cannot convert from string into course. That makes sense because name is a name is a string, and every slot in the courses is an address of some course objects, so they don't match. So now what we can do is, why don't we create a course objects out of the name, and then assign this newly created objects to the collection. That's what we can do. Okay, so you can do, I'll show you a little bit more wordy way. You can say course C is assigned to new course name. We know that to create a course object, you need exactly just the name. Everything else can be done later. Okay, everything can be set later. So now you can simply just do C. So now you can see that these two lines and these two lines are exactly the same. The only extra step you have to do for this second version here is by creating the object by yourself. Okay, that's it. So I got two versions here. Let's see how we can use them. Okay. And then I will show you some interesting methods. Okay. So now let's say we try to do for students. So let's say we have two students, for example. Let's say we have student record for Alan. What about that? New student record. And let's define the constructor. Okay, that's also important. Let's go to the student record. Define the constructor. So now students record. Okay, let's say the student record is going to have some ID. Why don't we create? Let's just put some ID here, string, and that's the only thing you need for the student. Okay, so you're going to say this dot ID is equal to ID. Actually, it makes sense to have first name and last name as well. Okay, string first name and string last name. Okay, let's say these are the three. So you can say this dot first name is assigned to first name. Okay. Let's say somehow you don't like these names a little bit too long. You can say fn, and then you can say ln. In this case, there's no clash between ln and last name, right? In this case, you don't necessarily need the this. You can simply say first name is assigned to fn. You can say last name is assigned to ln. So you only need to mention this when there's a clash between the parameter name and the attribute name, like in this case here. In this case, it's necessary. But in this case, it is not necessary. But you can put it if you like. For example, you can say this. Okay, so let's create some student record over here. So student record, we're going to have, let me see this, ID, first name and last name. Okay. Let me just make it easy. Just say it's ID1. Okay, just ID1. I will show you in a way to manage this a little bit better on Thursday. Okay, in the lecture. Let's say student ID. Let's say Alan. Alan Cooper, for example. Okay, let's have another one. What about Mark? Mark, what about Lawford? Okay, we have two student records. Of course, ID should be different. Okay, we got Alan and Mark. So now let's say this. We're going to add some course for Alan. You can say Alan dot add register. The register course register CSE114. Okay, let's say he's going to register two courses. Alan register CSE214. So now you can see CSE114 and CSE214, they kind of belong to this particular person called Alan. Why don't we rename the two variables quickly? Okay, it's easy. So now I click on this variable here, CSE114 over here, right? I can right click and then go to refactor and then go to rename. Okay, now I want to call that CSE114 for Alan. Okay, just make it more explicit. Okay, you can see everything else has been changed. So do this systematically using Eclipse. Don't do it manually by yourself. So now I want to rename this CSE214 as well. So now you can do refactor and then rename. And then CSE214 for Alan. Okay, so now Alan got two courses. 1 and 2. Okay, let's check something here. Now let's check two things. System.out.println. If I say Alan.courses.length, that's one thing I want to do. Okay. System.out.println Alan.number of courses. Okay. Now I want you to have a look at this line here to see what I'm trying to do here. I'm saying that since I already created a student record class, now objects, I want to see what's the size of the courses. Okay. Now I'm going to do it. Okay. Let's see what the printout is going to be. Okay. Have a look at it. What do I have? NullPointer exception. That might be something you saw in your assignments. Okay, you might get a similar problem. So let's solve it together. So now let's see this. Don't be too terrified by the error message in Eclipse. You should really try to use them if you can. So it tells you that this NullPointer exception here occurred in the tester that we talked about, line number 16, which means when we try to do Alan.register this line here, we got a NullPointer exception. Okay. If you go a little bit more, it tells you that more specifically in line number 25 of this class over here, we got this problem here. Okay, so this is the line that caused us the trouble. Somehow, when you try to execute this line here, you got NullPointer exception. Okay, but let's see the debugger to see a little bit more in detail. So now I would like to go back to the tester here. It tells me there's some problem with this line. Why don't I go there? Okay. And then I'm going to run the debugger. Okay. Okay, you can see now I'm over here, right? I'm over here. Let's make sure. So basically, null pointer exception only occurs when the context object of the method call is null. Okay? I'll write it down in just a moment. So now you can see that I'm trying to call register on Alan. Let's make sure Alan is not null. If you move your mouse over, okay, Alan does exist. So Alan is not a problem. Okay? There might be some problem inside the register method. So let's walk into it. You can say step into it. And now you can see that we are now in the first version of the register method, right? So now we are trying, that's line number 25, that's where the problem was. But let's see what the problem really is precisely. If you move your mouse over courses, you see that, courses is null. So in this line here, and what's NOC? NOC is 0. We are trying to go to the 0 position of an array that happens to be null. That's why you got a null pointer exception. But why? How can the array be null, right? Okay, let's stop this. That's a very common error. Okay, so let's go back to the tester here. You see, somehow when we first create the Alan student record over here, presumably we should initialize the array of courses to be some length. Let's see if we really have done that. Okay. If you go to the student record class, you can see that, in the student record class, did we do anything to the courses? We didn't, which means it will just have the default value null. That's why, which is bad. So for those of you who are doing shop or doing cart, if you got any array attributes in your constructor, make sure you initialize the objects. Otherwise, you run into null pointer exception. Okay. Well, if you have no idea what I'm trying to talk about the assignment, then you're in trouble, right? Hopefully you have some idea. Okay. Okay, let's now fix it. Okay, so now let's try to go to the student record here. Since we got a courses attribute here, right? So now we can say initialize the courses attributes. Let's say a student can take up to how many each semester? 10? Maybe too many, right? How about 5? Okay, be kind to you. How about 5? So courses, new courses, 5. If you want to make it a little bit better, what you can do is you can say final int maximum number of courses. Make it constant. Now you can replace this by that. Oh, that should be course. Okay. What do I have over here? Oh, I forgot. Sorry. Let's say it's 5. Okay. It's a constant, so I can assign some value to it. Okay, so you can see that the error, the reason I got the error was because in the constructor of the student record, if I did not try to initialize the attribute value of type array, it's going to get null, which means in any subsequent method calls, it's going to have null pointer exception. And this is also explained in the notes I prepared for you from Saturday. So please read it over. That will help. That will help. Okay. Okay. Let me just make another note for you. Register if we did not initialize the courses array in the constructor, we would get a null pointer exception when indexing into the array courses, right? Because there's simply no such array. Okay? Hopefully you got a point. Okay? This kind of the pattern you should be very familiar with in the lab test on Thursday. Okay. Okay, let's now go back to our registration system here. So now let's see if that will change. Okay. So now we want to print out two things. First of all, we want to print out the courses.length, and the second thing is NOC. Okay. Okay, you can see 5 and 2. I hope these two numbers make sense to you, right? Because you can see that so far we have added 2 courses for Alan. So that should be 2. That would be NOC. That's a separate counter we created. On the other hand, the length of the array is always the maximum, which is 5. It never changes. Okay. So now you can also define the getStringValue method for yourself. Let me just do this for you. So that'll be some interesting thing I can show you. Let's see. Let's do one method first before I get to the getStringValue. Okay. So now let's say I want to define a method. Define an accessor method that returns the courses register so far. If so far the student have registered no courses, then the return value should be an empty array. If the student have registered just 1 course, the return array should be of size 1. If 2 courses, should be of size 2. Of course, if they have registered for 5 courses, the size should be 5. Okay. Okay. So now let's try that. Return value should be an array, of course. Okay. Get registered courses so far. What about just this? That'll be enough. Okay. We don't need to take any more parameters. That'll be sufficient. Let's try something here. The most naive implementation would be I can simply return courses. That's the most naive solution, but that's wrong. I'll demonstrate to you why it is wrong. So now you can see that this will compile because we know that this is a return type, which is an array of course. And courses over here is the attribute that we declared before, which is also an array of courses, right? So they match. So this return value is okay, but it is not necessarily correct. Okay, let's try this. Okay, if I go back to registration system tester over here, let's try that. So now I have course array courses for Alan. It's assigned to. Okay, you can say Alan.get register courses. Right, we can return an array. Let's now try to print it out. Okay. So now how do we print it out? We can say for integer I is equal to 0, I less than, what should be the upper bound? I'll leave that to you. Think about it before I type it out for you. I plus plus. And then, is this right? If I say Alan.courses.length. Is that right? Hey, so you said that's not right. What should that be?
Isn't that because we do the current courses we took so far?
Exactly. Yeah. So far we only have taken 2 courses, right? So which means the length would be 5. It's way too many, right? Good man. Good. Let's say Alan.NOC. I think that's what you meant. Very good. I'm happy. Very good. Okay. Okay. That's very important to realize. You really got to put this upper bound correctly. Okay. Otherwise, you'll run into NullPointer exception again. Okay. Okay. So now, how do we print out the courses for Alan? So of course, you can try to do this. We can say system.out. Well, you can do something like this. Let me just make it easier for you. So I can say course C is assigned to Alan.courses at index I. And then I can try to access the various attribute values for the course. I can say, for example, system.out.println. I can say c.name. For example, right? And also whatever information I need. But remember, we actually defined a getStringValue method already in the course class. Why don't we reuse it, right? what I meant by is this. Why don't we do this? Reuse the get string value method from the course. Okay. What we can do is system.out.println, and then I can say c.get string value. Of course, if you just print out C, that will be print out the address. If I say c.get string value, it is going to call the definition I just defined, right? You can also feel free to use this in your assignments. Okay, let's try this. You can see these are the two courses, right? So these are the two, let me just make it a little bit better. So what about system? Okay, so far you got it, right? So far? Okay, now I want to create another method in the student record class. Okay, I want to also define the get string value method in the student record class. Okay, and I'm going to copy and paste some code, cut and paste in just a moment. Okay, let's go back to student record class over here. So you have string get string value. Okay, let's do something similar. Okay, string s is empty string to begin with, and also you have return s eventually. So now somehow let's say we want to print out to say Alan is currently taking the following courses. Let's say 2 courses, right? And then course number 1 and course number 2, right? And we can actually cut and paste the loop that we had before. We're going to change that a little bit. Okay, let's go back to the tester over here. So can we simply just get can you see this block? Starting from courses for Alan over here up to here. Okay. Okay. Let's go back to student record here. Let's paste that. It wouldn't compile at the moment. That's okay. I'm going to fix that for you. Okay. Okay. First. Okay, I don't think you need this one here. Okay, just that. You can see somehow Alan does not make sense anymore because Alan is a particular instance of type student record. So now we are in the student record class. So we should make it general. Okay, so we can say this .noc rather than Alan. And then we can say this .courses rather than Alan. And everything compiles. Okay, except that rather than system.out.println, what we really want is something like this. S plus equal this, maybe with a new line. And then this dot. But this line wouldn't be necessary because now we are in the context of the student record class. So we can get access to the courses directly. So we don't need that. Okay? Okay, that's kind of the a reasonable version for get string value for student record. You can see the most important thing for you to realize is over here we are trying to reuse the get string value method from the course class, right? You want to reuse as much as possible. You want to minimize code repetition. Any questions? No? Are we okay? Good. Let's try that quickly. If you go to courses, let's just make something a little bit more useful. Let's say we can say S plus equal the name of the students. It's first name, last name. Okay, I forgot. First name, I'll just say first name just for now, is taking how many courses? So now, how do we know how many courses the student is taking? We don't really check the length of the array. We check NOC, right? Yeah, NOC. Okay. This many courses. Okay. Plus. Okay. Okay, let's try that. Okay. You can see every time when you're trying to get define a get string value method, you may need to get something extra, but at the same time, you can also reuse something that has been defined before, right? Okay, go back. And now let's do system.out.println Alan dot get string value. Like that. What do we get? You can see Alan is taking 2 courses, and then let me improve that a little bit. You can now put a new line. Go back to student record, courses, add a new line here. That'll be better. Well, if you want to make it fancier, you can even do something like this. Tab plus, put some indentation. Let's go back, and now let's do this. Alan is taking 2 courses, so these are the 2 courses, right? Okay. Any inspiration for your assignments? Maybe. Okay. Hopefully, yes. Okay. So now let's go on. I want to go back to this method here in the student record class over here. So let's continue with the discussion. So the get registered courses is only going to return an array whose length corresponds to the number of courses of the student, right? It shouldn't be 5 always, right? So now I can say this is not satisfactory because when NOC, you actually see this kind of argument also in the documents, in the notes, is less than courses.length, we have null slots in the courses array, right? Yeah, well. For example, if you have, let's say we have gym, student record, we have courses, let's say Alan here. So courses is going to be an array of size 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then, so far, we have some object for CSE114, some object for CSE214. And this will be the value for the number of courses, which is equal to 2. Right? Now you can see that Alan courses length will be 5 always. We never change the size of the array. On the other hand, you see Alan number of courses will just be 2. Right? So when you have 2 less than 5, that means you got exactly 5 minus 2, which is 1, 2, and 3. Null slots. Okay? That's kind of the logic here. Okay, so this will be null, this will be null, this will be null. So now, how do we implement this method here? We want to, first of all, create an array of size NOC, 2. And we want to assign every slot of the array into the corresponding position of the courses, right? That's what we're going to do. Let's see how we can do that. Imagine this. I'm going to create an array of size 2. I would say CS, courses, to make it briefer. Okay? It's going to be of size 2, 0 and 1. And we know that 1 here is simply the current value for NOC. Okay? Sorry. Make it better. So this will be 1. And the size of the array is simply NOC, which is 2. So now, what we want to do is to say CS at position 0 is assigned to courses at position 0, right? And also CS at position 1 is assigned to courses at position 1. That's what we want to do, right? What we do. If you do it the other way around, that's wrong. Okay? Let's think about why it is wrong. If I say courses at position 0 is assigned to CS0, what's it going to do? Because at the moment, let's say we just initialize this array, it's just going to be null and null. If I say this, that means copy whatever that is stored in CS at position 0, which is null. Copy null into courses at position 0, which will set this to be null. That's a wrong way to go. Okay? So that's not right. what we should do is like this. So after this line here, we're going to copy the address of this object here, and then let a link to here. And also, we also want to do this. Also let a link to the first course, the second course over here. Okay, we're just going to do this. We're going to use a loop. Okay. Let's see how we can do that. Okay. So now we can say course array CS new course with NOC. Okay, so how do we assign? So we can run a loop. Okay, very similar to how we do this. Very similar. Okay, for integer I is assigned to 0, I less than NOC. What this that NOC doesn't matter. They're the same. I plus plus. And then we can do. Oh, by the way, let me just copy this. So this is not satisfactory. Okay. So eventually we want to return CS. So we can say, oh sorry, almost got the wrong way. CS at position I is assigned to courses at position I. Okay, let's test this. Now I'll show you how to use it. Now let's go back to tester over here. So now we can do this. So now let's do this. What about, again, course array? Courses of Alan is assigned to Alan.get register courses. Let's now try this. System.out.println. Alan is taking, now courses of Alan is in array dot length. Now I should expect to see 2. Agree? Shouldn't be 5. Okay, like that. It's taking this many courses and then semicolon. Okay. Okay, let's try that. It will tell you Alan's taking 2 courses over here, right? Okay, that's printing out the right thing. Okay, let's do one more thing. How do I get to the array? You can say system.out.println. First course of Alan is this. Okay, I will say print here. Now, how do we remember when we talked about the dot notation this morning, right? Let's practice that. How do I get to the first course of Alan? System.out.println. I can say Alan dot. Oh, actually, let's do. There are many ways of doing it. I'll show you. For example, you can use a return value here. Position 0 dot get string value, because courses of Alan is an array of course, and now position 0 tells me the first course, and you can call that get string value. Okay, that's one way of doing it. Alternatively, you can also write Alan.courses at position 0 dot get string value. That also works, depending on how I ask you in the tester. Okay, let's test this quickly. Okay, the first course of Alan is this. Okay, that's what you get right here. Okay, now let's do some calculation of GPA. Right? Let's go back to the course student record here. Let's say let's go back to tester. I want to show you something. Let's set a letter grade for Alan. Okay. ln the set. So there are different ways you can set a record. I'll show you both. You can say ln dot. I'll show you 3. Courses of ln at position 0 dot set letter grade. Let's say he got A. Okay, that's one way of doing it. Because we know that courses of ln is returned from this get register courses method, right? It's going to contain 2 courses. We just set the letter grade of the first course to be A. Okay, that's one way of doing it. Or we can say, I'll show you 3. That's completely equivalent. Or you can say ln dot courses at position 0 dot set letter grade to be A. That also works. And we just need one of them, but I'll show you other ways. Or you can say something like this. You can say CSE114 for ln dot set letter grades. So what you should do is you should really try to draw the object structure diagram, like how I did in the morning. You will realize all these 3 paths point to the same objects. Okay, so I'll show you this. I'll write this down for you. Aliasing. This path here, the following path refer to the same object. First one is this. Second one is this. And the third one is this. They all refer to the same object. So if you try to compare their addresses, you will see exactly true for each comparison. Okay, I'll leave that to you. Okay, I'll just leave one of them. The other 2, I'll put them into comments. Okay, so they're just alternative for you. Let's say courses of ln 1, which is second course, which is CSE214. Set letter grade. Let's say he failed. Okay, so you gotta retake it. A and F. So now somehow we want to calculate GPA for ln. So how do we do that, right? How do we do that? Let's go back to the student record here. But you can see only the letter grade is of type string. But to calculate GPA, you should somehow convert the letter grade into the numbers, right? That's what you should do. Okay? And we're going to see some helper method in this case. I'll show you. Okay? Let's go to the student record here. So now I'm going to say this. Let's define a helper method for converting letter grade to numerical score, to grade points. That's what I mean. To grade points. You will see the table there on the instruction. I'm going to encode that over here. So the output is going to be some integer double, because we got 8.0, 7.0, etc. double. Get GP. What about get grade point? And then we're going to have some string LG, letter grade. Okay. Okay, so now let's say if the letter grade we are trying to convert is actually happens to be A. Now let's just do something here. You can say double GP, grade points, is 0.0 to begin with. Okay? And then eventually we'll return GP. If the letter grade is A, then GP should be 8.0. Else if LG dot, you see that's kind of our selections lecture, right? So nothing has been abandoned so far. Everything is interconnected. If it is B, that'll be 7.0. GP is assigned to 7.0. Else if LG dot equals C So GP is assigned to 6.0. Let's say else, which means it's F. Well, 5.0. Now, just according to the table you were given. So this is the helper method. So now what should we do? The idea is we should let's say I want to calculate the GPA for Alan. What I should do is I should go over the array of courses for each course object I'm looking at. I can look at what its letter grade is, and then convert that letter grade into grade points. Accumulate the grade points divided by the number of courses. That's what I should do. Okay. A little bit like an average calculator, right, that we did before. Let's try that. It's not hard. So now let's do double get GPA. Okay. In which case we don't need any parameters because we can simply just go over the courses array up to the NOC point. So now let's say let's say total GP. Initially 0. We're going to accumulate the grade point first. Eventually, we're going to say total GP is actually double GPA is assigned to total grade point divided by NOC, the number of courses. And notice that if you say courses.length, it will be wrong, right? Because you may have NOC being 2, which means only 2 courses. But if you say courses.length, it's going to be 5. Okay? So be careful. And then you can eventually return GPA. But let's see how we can accumulate the total grade points. For integer I is assigned to 0, I less than, NOC, I plus plus. Why don't you try? I'll give you 3 minutes. Try to see how you can accumulate the grade points. According to the current course you're looking at, look up its letter grade, convert that into grade points, accumulate it to total grade points. Why don't you try? I'll give you 3 minutes. Okay? And then I'll give you a solution. Yeah, I'm hoping to do maybe another 2 methods. Yeah, maybe in the student management system. Yeah. Okay, maybe another minutes. Okay, let's try. So now you can say course C is assigned to the current courses we're looking at. You can say courses, well, this are courses if you like. Okay, these are courses at position I, just that. Now, string will be letter grades, which is C dot letter grade, or you can say C dot get letter grade. That's the setter that was generated by Eclipse, right? If you remember from the very beginning. Now, how do we convert the grade point of this, right? You can say integer GP assigned to, I can now call the helper method. Sorry, I forgot how I called that. Get grade points. LG. Double. Okay, so now once I get a grade point for this particular course C, I can now accumulate it into the total grade points, right? So now you can say total GP plus equal GP. And that'll be it. Let's try to predict what's going to happen. So Alan got A for 114, so which means he got 8.0, right? 8.0 over here. and he fell to 14, so that'll be 5.0. And the GPA should be 13 divided by 2, 6.5. Okay? Okay, let's see what's going to happen here. So now let's try to expand our toString value, get string value method a little bit. Alan is taking some courses, this student record. Let's expand. S plus equal first name plus has GPA. Okay, get GPA. Which means as part of the string value for this particular student record, we want to summarize its GPA so far. I'll also show you how you can call that from the tester in just a moment. But let's try that. Okay, let's go back to the tester and let's try. Oh, actually, you know what? After this letter grade here, I'm going to do this. Get string value, yes. Let me see if there's any potential danger of my code. Get string value, you know what? I would suggest to avoid the trouble, okay? Let me change the tester just a little bit for you, okay? I'm gonna do that quickly, yeah. So this is the first time I say Alan that gets string value. However, I want to say something like this, okay? Can we just cut and paste this part of code? This part here, you can see starting from courses of Alan is assigned to this, right? Oh, actually, you know what? It's much easier. Yeah. Can we cut this line here? This one here. Cut this line, okay? And then, can we move it to over here? That's much better. Do you see what I mean? So the get string value used to be here. I don't want to put it there. I want to put it after I have set the letter grades for the courses of Alan. Put it here. So now I should really expect to see the GPA for Alan, who actually got A for 114 and fell to 14. That should be 6.5. That's what I should expect to see. Let's try that. 6.5. Any questions? Are we okay? Good. Let me try to do maybe, we still got 10 minutes. I can do another 1 or 2 methods for you, okay? Let's go to our registration system. Let's create another class. Registration system. Okay, and this class is very easy. We're simply going to collect student records. So we can say student record, let's say students. And then integer number of students, like that. So now, again, let's define a constructor for this. Let's say also final int maximum number of students, 1,000, let's say. Doesn't matter. So now we can say registration system here. In this case, we're going to initialize the array. That's very important, okay? Students is assigned to new student record, and then maximum number of students, right? Okay. Okay, let's just do add. Let's say add a students. Okay, make so for example, just get one version only. Void add students, and then I can say student record S. I can say students at position NOS is assigned to S NOS plus plus. Oh, sorry, just before I forget. So there is extended TA hours tonight. If you have for your assignments, the TA hours will be from 9 p.m. to 11:30. And I think for tomorrow morning, we also get 9 a.m. to 10:30. I'll send you a couple of messages as well later tonight, tomorrow morning as well. But hopefully you don't have to use it, I hope. Yeah, but at least for tonight. Okay, let's see what we want to do for this. Let's say we want something like this. Let's say once we add the students, what about this? Let's say we want to get the students. Students, get students. String, let's say, what do we have? For each student record, we have first name, let's say ID. We want to match the ID, let's say. Return the student object whose ID is ID. Okay? Whose attribute ID is ID. So ID is a parameter. Return null if the ID does not exist. Okay? If there's no such student with the ID. So now let's, to make this compile, I can say return null just for now. Okay? I just want to make it compile. Student record. Okay, so now let's go to the registration tester. Okay. So now let's say we want to use it. We can say registration system sys new registration system. Okay, let's add the two students we have, Alan and Mark. We can do system.add students Alan. System.add students. You can see Eclipse is smart enough to figure out these are the two variables of the expected type, Alan or Mark. Okay, Mark. So now you can see so far we got Alan and Mark inside. So now let's try this. If I say students record R1 is, so let's see, you can see when, let me just go back to Alan for you, just remind you about, when I first created the student record for Alan, the ID was ID1, right? That's something we're checking, okay? So I'm gonna say sys dot get students ID1. ID1 denotes the student record of Alan. Okay? So we only got ID1 and ID2 because you can see ID2 is for Mark, and Mark has been added as well. On the other hand, I'm going to say another one. Let's say junk. There's no such an ID called junk. Okay. R2. So what I should get from R1 is the address to Alan student record objects. What I should get for R2 will be null. Okay. So now I want to say system.out.println record of Alan in the system is, okay, so now you can say system.out.println R1.get string value. You can see how convenient get string value is, right? You can always print out the string representation of your objects without having to refer to the attribute names always. Okay, just define it once and use it for as many times as you like. On the other hand, system.out.println record of unknown record with ID junk is what? Okay, that's now also system.out.println R2. We're expecting that to be null. Okay, so this is just to tell you how we expect to use the method. What do we expect from the return value? But how do we implement that, right? So now let's go back to registration system here. How do we do that? So now let's say this. We know that we're going to return a student record. Student record, let's say REC. Now, return record eventually. Now we want to see if we get a chance to find out the student record with the corresponding ID as a parameter, we should assign that student record objects to REC. Otherwise, REC remains to be null. Reassign the course, the student record object with its attribute ID equal to parameter ID. If not found, REC remains. Okay, there's the REC here. Remains null. Let's try that. Okay, so now you can say for integer I is assigned to 0, I less than number of students, I plus plus. Okay, let me be a little bit briefer this time. Okay, we can say if the students, which is an array, at position I, which is student objects, dot get dot ID dot equals ID. So now I'll just explain a little bit. You might be a little bit confused if this ID refers to this ID over here. Okay? I'll explain that in just a moment. They refer to different things. Okay? If it is the case, REC should be assigned to students at position I. Okay? Otherwise, it never gets reassigned, so it remains to be null. Let's try, and then I'll explain to you this line, and then we are done. This line is also important to explain. Okay, let's try this first. Let's go back to this one here. You can see record of Alan in the system is this student record, and then record of unknown record with ID junk is just null. Okay, it's behaving is expected. Okay. Now I want to explain this line here. If you go back to the registration system here, I want to explain this line specifically. Okay. So now we talk about the registration system class. And we have the course student record here, student records, and then array and students, and the rest. And now inside this method here, we have, it's called get students, I think, right? Or I forgot. Yeah, get students. Student record is an accessor. Get students. And then here we have string ID. And then you can see that we actually got if expression here. So what do we have? We have students at position I. Student at position I dot ID dot equals ID. Okay, this is the line I would like to explain. Okay, you do whatever. Okay, so now let's have a look at this. This one's easier. The ID over here, you can see this ID here has no context just by itself, right? Just ID. And there is no attribute in the same class called ID. So this ID here must refer to this ID over here. Okay? What about this ID over here? Well, this ID here has a context. Whatever that goes to the left of the dot is the context. So this is the context of this ID. Let's be a little bit more precise. I'm going to put it aside. So when you have students I dot ID, for example, like this. Let's figure out what this ID really is. Let's figure that out. First of all, students here is basically this dot students, right? It's implicit. Okay, let me use different color. Okay, almost done. Okay, so now let's see this. First of all, let's figure out the types gradually. If you say this is the context objects, right? This is registration system. Okay, what about this dot students? This dot students basically talk about the students attributes in this class, right? There's a students attribute here in this class over here. So this is of type student record array. Okay, and then let's do another one. If you try to do another context over here at position I. So this part here, this dot students is in array. Now you're trying to go to a particular index of the array. What is that? Well, the element type. Student record. Now, when you see this student record dot ID, that means this is the ID attributes from the student record. Okay, you can see that's how we figure out the context for this expression here. So that means ID, the context is students. So this is the context, is of type student record. So this ID here is the attribute from there. Okay? So ID is an attribute from student record. I'll say this off. So now the point is, this ID here means something very different from this ID here. This ID here is random. This ID here has some very sophisticated context. That means this is the attributes from student record class. Any questions? Are you okay? Don't you? Are you okay?
No,
You're not sure? Okay, we'll talk. Okay, that'll be it. So good luck to your assignments tonight. And then, yeah, so, and then tomorrow, good luck to your preparation for that test. Okay. Preparation, not that test. Okay, I'll upload the source code tonight.